This is a podcast about both having autism and living with someone who has autism. My mom is Sonya, and I'm Josh, and this is Josh Has Autism.
Hey everybody, welcome to Josh Has Autism.
Hello.
I started this and now I'm going to sneeze. Wait, whoa. Do you ever get that burning in your nose?
Yeah, breathe out through your nose hard.
Okay.
Breathe in through your mouth and then out through your nose.
How do you know that?
Experience.
Oh, it makes the burning go away?
Yeah,
It did kind of, it just a little bit itchy now. Anyway, whew, what a way to start. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody.
Yeah.
We're so glad you're here. We had something very eventful happen on Friday.
Yeah.
Drum roll.
Oh, you're telling me to
Say it.
Not just
say
the drum.
It.
Yeah.
I do the drum roll. You say it.
Dad retired from work.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he retired on Friday.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine said to me about that. They said, "Oh, congratulations to him," and "Oh, I'm so sorry for you," because that means he's going to be around a lot. So, I've already asked him one time, "Don't you have something to do?" So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah. Anyway, so yes, he's retired and is already on to his next endeavor. But as far as the working world goes, he's done.
Cool.
Yep. He retired Friday. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you've seen him, he's had quite a few different jobs to get where he is. When you were born, he was in the Navy.
Yeah.
Did 21 years.
Yeah, retired from that.
Yep. Retired from after 21 years in the Navy. Then went to college, then had a couple of his own companies, had worked for a couple different businesses to help them to become profitable in order to be sold. And then when he did that, he would be out of a job. And anyway, then he's been the senior buyer for the city here is what he retired from.
Yes.
So he worked in procurement for most of his working life.
Yeah.
So, anyway, he said, "I'm done."
Yeah, and I'm so proud of him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so impressed with him and everything. I know that.
Well, I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
Because at this point in his life, he's went in the Navy when he was 17, and he didn't want to have to get up and put on dress clothes. And look, I'm glad I don't have to iron clothes, and I don't have to iron clothes, but like this is the arrangement. I would help him, by ironing his clothes. No big deal. There's times when I'm working, he would iron for me, but just these last few months is that I would just get up and would iron and so I'm grateful that I don't have to iron. But anyway, yeah, he's had a number of he's owned some businesses and really worked very, very tirelessly to help us to be okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even whenever he's not.
Well, yeah. He's got 9 bad discs in his back.
Wow.
It's degenerative disc disease. So he's in a lot of pain. And, so that in that regard, it would be sometimes, where I'd send him off in the morning to work and I would see him hobble to his truck,
Yeah.
And, it was tough.
Yeah.
And so I really feel like it's time for him to retire and do the things. Of course, he's already doing other things.
He's always doing
something. He can't sit still.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to sit still.
Yeah.
So, that's it. We had a celebration here for him.
Yeah.
Which we celebrate a lot of things with one another.
We really do.
Mm-hmm.
And it. Yeah.
So he had for a while he owned a pressure washing company, and we would all work, and it was commercial,
Mm-hmm.
mostly. Sometimes he did residential, but he did like fleet of asphalt trucks, and
Yeah.
boy, that was nasty. That was nasty.
Yeah.
Everybody had come home soaking wet and just
Yeah.
stinky because of that. Yeah, oh, it was a mess.
Yeah. But
Anyway.
yeah, it was. I don't even. There's so many words and thoughts going through my head about this. It's I can't.
Yeah. Words. It's funny because like you have to have words in order to convey your thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And I know that you have all of these words batting around in your brain, and sometimes sending them out is more complicated than
than it would ever sound like it would be. Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, I know that you've experienced so much with Dad. You know, him retiring from. Do you remember him retiring from the Navy?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. I remember that he got all dressed up. You got all dressed up.
Mm-hmm.
Haley and I got all dressed up,
Mm-hmm.
which was weird to me. But
Mm-hmm.
and there was a ceremony that Dad was. It was really cool to see him be honored like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember specifics really
Mm-hmm.
about it because I was really little.
Mm-hmm. He did some things that were very regal, I guess, and that, you know, that he was on a ship for so many years of his time in the Navy. The last time that he went, you know, across the bridge, you know, they blew the whistle.
Oh
You know, his last time crossing.
Yeah.
And then at the retirement, they had the guns, you know, tip to tip.
Yeah.
And at the very end, when he was done with, because a lot of people spoke at his ceremony, and he gave a speech as well. And then after that, when he and I walked through the, you know, underneath those guns up like that, it would just.
Well, it was to explain kind of what you're talking about. You're tinting your fingers, like in like the top of a triangle.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when knights of old would hold their swords up,
Yes.
and the king or whatever would walk under them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. And this retirement is a little bit different because, you know, with COVID and everything, there's still, while people don't have to wear masks anymore, things are opening back up, there's still things where even his retirement party was virtual.
Mm.
Although he did come home with lots of cupcakes and a cake and a card that everybody signed, and they had everybody pitched in money.
Oh, cool.
And so it was, yeah, that was pretty cool. But then, you know, we didn't get to be there to see that.
Right.
And so the only thing we could do is like his last day coming home, just to make a big deal out of this. Because anybody that's worked, you know, the majority of their life and then to be able to retire is just such an accomplishment.
Yeah.
So I know that we celebrated him with steaks and a nice dinner. Well, I didn't eat steak. I had this fake Cajun chicken. It was really good. It was plant-based. It was really good, though.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you saw Dad go through a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
You've experienced that from your point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of good and some not so much.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. This is true. He's a guy of integrity.
Yeah, very much so.
Mm-hmm.
So are you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not a guy of integrity, but
well, doing things that are dishonest, it doesn't feel comfortable to me.
Right.
It's just not who I am.
Right.
So I make mistakes like anybody else. Given the option, I would hope that I always choose the honorable thing to do.
Yeah. You can't stand lying.
Mm-mm.
From not just for you to do that, but for anyone else to do that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that that came to me from my dad because he lied a lot, and so after my parents split up, and now we're not talking about Pappy.
Yeah. Right.
Pappy has been my stepdad since I was 15.
Yeah.
And my real dad, your grandpa,
Mm-hmm.
passed away in 2005. And before that, he had struggled with alcohol, and he didn't die because of alcohol, but he died from lung cancer.
Yeah.
But so after they split up, there was a big portion of times where he wasn't okay, and so he would say things that were just not true. And I guess so many years of that just got me to a point of like, well, there's no benefit in lying.
Right.
Even if the truth is uncomfortable, or even if you're not sure of what the truth is, or because emotions are very complicated.
I know.
So you're allowed to not really be sure of something. You, anybody else, right?
Right.
But yeah, being unsure is fine. I don't like lying. Is just really it's something when you were little. You tell me the truth.
Yeah.
We get through the truth.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to be honest with me, how am I going to stand there and support you and be your advocate and and even Connor and Madison.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just super important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, your dad retired?
Yay.
Yeah. Yep, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And you're working.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And so I was wondering about something. Is that we are having this renovation take place here. We have had all kinds of people coming through. All kinds of people. And it's interesting because they all specialize in a certain thing, but together they get things done in there, and then we go in after they've been there all day, and we're like, holy moly, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So you have HVAC people, you have plumbers, you have electricians, you have the contractors that are the I don't think it's mechanical, it's structural.
Yeah.
So they're building.
Yes. Mechanical are things like the people who make phones and stuff like that. Those are the
Well, it's like the
everything other than
air conditioning and stuff like that too. So anyway, it's just crazy. And on top of that, now we've had a tile person coming, and then one of the shower door, and then yesterday the guy came to Nana had wanted carpet in there, and so we just are going with that because Pappy wants to honor what it is she wanted.
Right.
And it's totally opposite of me. I do not like carpet.
Yeah.
I do not like it. I like hardwood floors.
Okay.
Or some tile.
Okay.
But yeah. Anyway, everybody that's come through here has been so easy to work with, and it's just been a very positive experience, as long and drawn out as it's been.
Yeah.
That part of it is frustrating and nerve-wracking. The people, though, doing the work have been very, very pleasant and just nice people.
Yeah.
Enjoy the conversations we have.
Yeah.
And so it makes me think that when you come in contact with people, do you get a sense of whether they're kind or whether they're being mean? And the reason I'm asking that is because all these different these people part of this.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the contracting company and all these subcontractors, right?
Mm-hmm.
All these people come in. So I'm interacting with all these people that I don't know, that I'm just meeting and trusting that they know what they're doing.
Right.
And it made me think about you, in that the people that you come in contact with, how do you discern, or do you, whether or not somebody is being mean, or they just sharing honest information, or what's that like for you? So here's a question. I'll break it down.
Thank you.
Do you know if somebody's being mean?
Affirm sometimes.
Affirm sometimes. Okay.
There are times where... Which word did you just use?
Mean.
Mean. Okay, mean. Yeah, there are times where I have no idea they're being mean. There are other times where I absolutely know that they're being mean. There's a couple of factors that go into that, though. One is sometimes the words that people use. There's multiple different definitions to words. There's multiple ways that they can be used. And another layer to that is different inflections that people use words with.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up, I had so much difficulty with that, with learning about that additional layer. And to this day, I still sometimes have difficulties. That's one of the reasons I have such difficulties when it comes to things like sarcasm, is because not only did I have to learn about humor and inflections of people's voices changing the meaning of something, but now I have to be wary if someone is actually trying to say a joke with a straight face. I think is... And it's so difficult because this doesn't come naturally to me. And because it doesn't come naturally to me, it can either go right over my head, or it takes me a minute or two longer than everyone else to realize what's going on, if I realize it.
Right.
And so that's just for any single word.
Yeah.
Then you have, if you put it into full sentences, the lilt, the upraised voice to a higher pitch, whatever, at the end of a sentence can make a statement into a question. Different things like that. And
exactly. And what adds to the difficulty is there's regions in our country that the cadence will just end going up.
Regardless of if it's a question
or
not. Yes.
Yes. Right.
Not to mention the different slang in different regions. Just, oh my gosh, there's so much that can impact whether or not I know not only if someone's being mean or not, but what the heck they're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought about you in regards to all of these construction people here. And I thought about you because there were times that they were telling me something and it was like it was a foreign language.
Yeah.
Because they have certain terminology that they use for something.
Right.
Just like, let's break it down, even the type of a wire that's used.
Right.
And when they're talking about doing this and doing that, putting it here, putting it there, and using this type of something, the wire, whatever it is, it's like, I know that they're talking. I know that they seem fine, but I don't know what to make about, I mean, look, I can figure out if they're saying we can have and I did have to go through and make these decisions. Like, I had to decide where the outlets are going to be, where the lights are going to be, where the closet's going to be, where the, whatever, throughout I had to make these decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But there are times when they're talking to me and it's put in a way that I don't know because it's not what I do.
Right.
So they're using a verbiage that I'm not familiar with. And I thought about you because I heard that what they sounded was very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't yelling.
Right.
They weren't whispering.
Right.
It sounded like it was a normal conversation, except that I didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you guys talk about Marvel or what's
video
that other
games
one?
or anything like that.
Yeah. What's that other one?
DC.
DC. Yeah. When you just talk about that, I'm like, oh, I don't even know.
Yeah, and it's funny because for example, in a construction position, there's absolutely verbiage that is used for specific things. And it may be that people that work on things like this, it's all uniform verbiage.
Sure.
With that said, if you're trying to explain exactly what this verbiage is and what it means and everything to someone who's not familiar with construction in a professional manner,
You feel kind of lost.
And I've seen enough movies and things like that to know that sometimes people could be, they could know the verbiage, but are making up everything about it.
Yes. Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Well, it's having to have... Well, that it just occurred to me that in these moments, and there's been a lot of these moments recently, where people are talking to me and what they're talking about, I'm not familiar with it enough to know exactly what's best or what's not best.
Right.
And I can only make decisions based on the things that kind of are relevant.
Right.
So I have to, in this conversation, realize, that stuff, they're going to put this particular product in.
Yeah.
And I just need to know, I need to participate in this conversation because they need my input for this portion. And so it just made me think about what it is that you go through all the time what do I need to know?
Yeah.
What's relevant?
Yeah.
And why, I don't know what you're talking about, so is that going to come up later? Like, am I going to need to know that?
Right.
Or is that just filler as part of the conversation? And what do I need to know? What do I need to retain?
So every conversation I have is like that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It really... Talking to all these different professionals on a daily basis, multiple times a day, made me think that I wondered if that's what it's like sometimes. Is people having a conversation based on what you've said before? Because people having a conversation, you don't know which parts are relevant, which parts are not.
Right. So your question is it sometimes like that for me? No.
Oh.
It's always like
that
for me.
Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And it's so stressful. And to be able to get away from that and relax a little bit, away from conversations, away from other people, makes it so much more bearable to go through that for periods of time.
Right. So we've talked about that. Just giving you the opportunity to escape from what's happening. But it really made me think about you, because it was so, in and of itself, I wasn't stressed by it.
Right.
Because I knew that I could, I'm able to follow along in a conversation, and when I don't understand something, I'm able to ask, what's the relevance of that?
Right.
So if they're asking me a question about something, I feel comfortable saying, I don't really know the difference, explain why this one versus this one. And so...
Whereas in normal conversation, that can't always happen.
Well...
Especially if it's with something that was brought up in a different conversation beforehand that now is being referenced in a current conversation. I'm not necessarily going to know at the time if I'm going to need it in the future.
Right.
So it's constantly trying to remember everything.
Yeah. And
one thing I've learned is that if you try and remember everything, you're not going to remember anything.
Right.
That's a generalization of a statement, but yes.
Sure, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. And for, I think that I had a little glimpse of what this must be like, because, and it felt like, not knowing what's relevant and what isn't is an aspect of it that I had not thought about before. When you and I have talked about things.
Yeah.
It's like the meaning of something.
Yeah.
How, when I asked you, do you know when somebody's being mean? I guess it's because, somebody being mean, you would think that you would see that. Not you. Not you. Let me put it a different way.
That most people would be able to understand that they're being mean to, that they are...
because that one feels more harsh to me. So somebody that's mean, is it mean, I guess it doesn't make a difference what it is, so that's just what I chose. But if somebody...
I'm trying to explain this a little bit more then.
Okay.
Just the difference between the different kinds of being mean. There's not necessarily different levels to it, but that's all on top of the verbiage being used and the inflections and everything like that. There's different there are different, I'd say, levels of being mean. Like, for example, being overtly mean. An example of that could be someone calling someone else a name.
Right.
That's insulting and demeaning. But another kind of mean that is a lot more subtle is someone pretending to be your friend to try and get something either out of you or get a specific reaction from you.
Right. And that's very complicated.
It's very complicated, and it's also a lot harder for me to recognize initially.
That showed up often with us having to teach you not to give your money away.
Yeah.
Which was a very hard concept for you because you're very generous.
Yeah.
And you just thought, oh, well, somebody else needs something too, so I'm going to buy them something. Or,
Yeah.
you go to school and you give them some of your money and...
For food or anything like that, yeah.
Yeah. But it was a complicated thing because for you to... If somebody says that can they have some money, if you have it, you're like, sure, here you go. And that was a very complicated process to teach you that it's nice to help people, and you can't give your money to everybody all the time.
Right.
That was a difficult one. Even today.
Yeah. even today.
Yeah.
Thankfully, not nearly as much or as bad, but yes.
Yeah. One of the things that I was just reading an article about somebody that it's about intention, the intention of somebody.
Yes.
And I think that's very, very complicated because there are times when you do things. And somebody said it's not. I saw that somebody said so. There's two different things. One person said, "Well, it turns out that with this fast-moving information age, it doesn't matter what your intention is. It's just the result that matters." And then there was somebody else that put something out with the best of intentions, was not out to hurt anybody, and got slammed and their life ruined because people misconstrued how they meant it.
Yeah.
And so words are very, very complicated. When you start getting into intention,
Yeah.
That's when you're talking about, is somebody really your friend, or are they trying to get something from you?
Right.
But then again, it goes back to a person's point of view and experience and life experience that words mean different things to different people, and the way that they express themselves are different. And now with everything moving so fast, with all the social media,
Mm-hmm.
that people are being misunderstood, and then they're a lot of times they're getting slammed for what they say, or then ultimately, if enough people don't like what they said, they lose jobs and all kinds of stuff over it.
Yeah, there are, going back to the words with the inflections being another layer.
Mm-hmm.
Intentions are another layer.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of all that, even
yeah, it goes on and on, doesn't it?
There's also the phrases and things like that as you say them, if you just say them just by themselves, people might look at you weird. Because if you use it in a sentence of something, it could make the whole thing mean something completely different than what you're actually saying.
Well, I remember one time saying to you that something was a piece of cake.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, "We have cake?" like it's a phrase that means it's easy. And you're like, "'Cause it's easy to make a cake?" And I'm like, well, sometimes it's easy to make a cake, well, unless it's from scratch, and then it's harder to make a cake than it is making a cake out of a box. And you're right back to, "We have cake?" Yeah. So I get what you're saying, is that, the phrases sometimes they take you in a direction, you personally in a direction that is not what the phrase means.
Yeah.
And so you're taking it face value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I've had to work really hard to learn, is to not take words at face value.
Mm-hmm.
Even if that's my initial
reaction.
Yeah, is to take things that are said at face value.
Right. It's communication is just hard. Right? I mean, you know that, and I'm just, saying that from this experience I've had recently, more than ever, I have an understanding of what you deal with, just in regular daily interactions. It's just there's so much to it. Every time we talk about this, I'm like, oh my gosh, how do you do it? Yeah, because it's just a complicated endeavor.
Yeah.
So, and yet you do it.
Every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you have a job that involves you communicating, and again, I'll go back to, I've said it before, growing up, taking you out into the community, and in the moments teaching you what to say, what, when you...
what is appropriate even for a situation. Being able to observe and correct in the moment was huge.
Yeah.
Because for me to try and remember what was spoken of in the doctor's office of what to say if a given situation comes up, that thought process doesn't occur in the moment. It is so difficult to comprehend that, I guess, for a lot of people, is that in the now, in the moment, if there's a situation going on, like in middle school, I would have bullies and everyone like that. I would react in the moment, and the instant the moment was over, or the situation was over, that would be when it would occur to me of what I should have done.
I think, it's interesting because I think that's the way for a lot of people. Because I've heard people say, "Oh, I should have said this. Oh, I should have said that."
Yeah. But this kind of thing, it runs even deeper than that, though, because it doesn't. There's a big difference between being able to talk through immediately what was going on and what the thought process was, and how to change that thought process in the future. There's a difference between it happening just then as opposed to talking about it the next day even, or whenever you, like several hours after leaving the location, going back home or whatever, and then talking about it. It never worked for me growing up.
No. Well, because it's interesting because you would say that after the fact you would think about, what you could have done, because that was kind of drilled into your, the therapies that you had.
Yeah.
How to take that situation and what you would do, how you would react, what are your options. That's part of the therapy that you've gone through.
Because whenever I was little and growing up to having this kind of therapy like that in the moment, it wouldn't ever occur to me to think about what I did and try and change it in the future.
Right.
Because I wouldn't think about things like that.
The other thing, too, is that once something is done...
It was done.
It's done.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah.
And so for you to even think about, that situation later on, I mean, initially you might go, I could have done that.
Yeah.
Then after that, it's done. It's gone.
Yeah.
And you don't think about it again.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So I could have, as an example, I could have had a full school week where most of the things didn't really go right. And let's say I went to see the doctor on Saturday, but on Friday coming home, I even saw a color that I liked or whatever right before I got off the bus. It would just brighten my mood up. Come Saturday, and how's your week? And how was your week this week, Josh? Oh, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Right. Yes, that happened quite often, and I'm like, okay, well.
Yeah.
There's these things that we would like to, help Josh with.
Yeah.
That took place. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was always like, and whenever I first started getting the therapy with the doctors, it was initially very confusing to me to, like, why should I talk about this kind of stuff? It's already past. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And this is huge. Oh my gosh, it's huge. One of the biggest reasons why I opened up like as much as I have and can today was because of talking through how I was feeling about things and why I was feeling the way that I was. And
sometimes I think you felt like I was like, we have to tell you how I feel again, like, because I wanted to know, that was a topic a lot.
yes.
How do you feel and what do you do with that?
Right.
Yeah.
And granted, part of it was also because the different medications I was on, just to make sure that I was doing okay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Not just mentally, but physically.
Mm-hmm. Yep. A big part of it.
Yeah. So, learning to explain myself and how I'm feeling about everything, that was huge to my development, I guess. It was huge. And it just occurred to me. That's why I was like, this is huge. So,
yeah.
And, yeah. So, that's a very important piece of the puzzle, I guess. Is to have my emotions opened up like that. And you know that for me, words are much easier to go to than emotions. So being able to put the words that I know with those emotions to explain how I'm feeling. I remember I was blown away whenever I first made that correlation in middle school.
Yeah.
Or late middle school, maybe even high school. Wow.
Yeah.
But I do remember when that occurred, it was like an aha moment, like you say. And it was really cool.
So it was a way for you to, so that really changed a lot of things for you.
Yes.
When you realized that you can, how you express yourself in connection to how you feel emotionally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not only to be able to explain how I'm feeling, but just being able to connect those words with the feelings that I have.
Right.
Just that caused a huge jump in my capabilities of explaining myself to others.
Which is interesting because a lot of times, so I've heard people say about you, doctors and what have you, would say, well, you have a difficult time, socializing and, interacting with others and, really knowing kind of yourself. And I'm thinking, no, with everything that all the therapies that you've had, all the conversations, all the,
I know myself. Other people are strange.
Yes. And I think you know yourself better than most people know themselves because of all of this introspective, analysis that you've been through for your whole life.
Yeah.
It started when you were 7.
Yeah.
So, it's been a constant. And, how do you feel? It's
Yeah.
like how you do your chin. You're like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah. How does that make you feel?
Yes. Yes. And so, going back to what I just experienced that made me think about this with you is that we've talked before about how you express yourself, about how you've made these connections. But it wasn't until this week when I am dealing with all of these construction workers that I realize that you participating in a conversation is so cumbersome. I've heard you say it, but it was in these moments. And I think it's because it was a variety of people talking to me about things that I have a little bit of an understanding, but not the full degree that they do, certainly.
Right.
And so being lost in not one or two, but probably a dozen conversations just made me think about that with you. Is that, wow, this... So I wanted to know if that's how that felt, because there's a layer there that we hadn't really talked about when it comes to hearing what's being said. Boy, you having to interpret that and feeling lost and not knowing what is important and what isn't. You know, it's like I remember being in school and we would have to do a book report.
Oh my gosh.
And I would, read it, and I would think that I had, the answers. And then I would go to the test, and there were questions on the test about things that I didn't even know. Well, like, what are they talking about?
Yeah,
and I read the book. What are they talking about?
Yeah.
And then other people would get some answers right. And I'm like, well, what did I read then? You know what I mean? It's like, this is totally different than what
Right.
Other people are getting out of this.
Right.
It's a totally different take. And so it made me think about that. Is that, wow, the information that I take in, sometimes it doesn't...
It may be the same, but it's viewed completely differently.
Yes. So it made me think about you.
Yeah.
Anyway. So... The good news is that I got through these conversations and things are getting done. So we got about 3 weeks now till renovations are complete.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Might even be, what is this? Might even be a couple weeks.
Oh, okay.
3 weeks at the most.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's real exciting. It's real exciting. Anyway, Josh, thanks again for doing this with me. I always like it.
Yeah.
I always learn something about you. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us again.
Yeah.
We appreciate you so much. Check us out, SonyaKing.com. Please give us 5 stars. Listen to us where we all over the place. I don't even remember where we are. YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube and your website are the only 2 that I actually know for sure.
I don't know. There's a whole bunch of others, but I don't really know. It's Anyway, thanks everybody, and
I'm so proud of Dad.
Yes, I'm so happy for him.
Yeah,
it's a good deal. Yeah. All right, everybody, be good to each other. Take care of each other, and hope you're happy and healthy out there. And we will talk to you next week. Love you.
Bye.